Hey everybody, hi Zabi, or Hobby, sorry, John, there's and Javier. How you guys doing? Oh, hey Bruce. Okay, is the sound and the video okay? Hi Clyde. Oh, good. How about the video? Howdy, howdy. It's not is that senior or senior? Still on its way. Okay. Hey Thomas, Donald, how are you? Derek? Oh, good. Thanks, Derek. Hi, Mr. Grumby from the Guernsey Channel Islands. Isn't that don't they have a moo cow from the Guernsey? Okay. Oh, great. Well, we're having a pretty nice day here. We've had rain, which is actually pretty nice because we've had a drought. Um, hey, True Junior, Jim, how are you? Mr. Gumby again. Oh God, Mr. Gumby, you're going to get in trouble. Hi, David. Uh, hey, James Caan, how you doing? You better be, or I'm telling. Hi, Mark. Oh, well, let's. What I want to do is to talk about something or two things, really. The first thing I want to talk about, we talked about some this morning if you were here, and that is that on Bloomberg News. Hi, Abdul. I saw one of the economists was saying that no matter who wins the election, there's going to be economic problems all the way out into 2025. And so I was thought, well, how is this going to affect the watch buyer? And one of the people said something. What's this? Valju. He calls himself Mr. Valju. So that and his point was that about 1% of the wealth is concentrated. Some bulk of the wealth is concentrated in 1% of the population, which is about 80 million people, which is those are some of your high-end watch buyers, so it's probably not going to affect them. He had a point, of course, but some of the other things are going to take a little longer to spool up, and I was just wondering how this might affect people buying watches. Is the pandemic going to result in a culling or a mass extinction level event? I don't know. I've got. This is even given my age, this is my first pandemic. I hope it's my last. Who knows? Hi, Mark. DGB, how's it going? How are things in the UK? But anyway, I thought, well, how is this going to affect things? Now, related to this, horologically speaking, yeah. One of the things that I've been noticing is that there's the number of watches, the number of models of watches that the big companies have is seems to be being cut. Okay. Models that aren't as popular, like the Gondolo and Patek Philippe. From what I understand, they're going to quit making Air Kings after this year at Rolex. And let me see, what else was there? Some other ones. There's some other ones that have been cut out that are less popular, and so I think the end result is sort of a flattening. And as the market flattens to only certain popular ones, and by the market, I'm talking about the major market. I don't know. If you look at Richemont, what they've been doing is very interesting. Is that they started up their own movement company called Val Fleurier, and there are at least 3 watch companies I know that have been using their at least the base movements out of that to cut down on prices and make more expensive things available, or apparently the quality, you're getting a quality watch, but I don't know, maybe not. So there's the concentration. The major concentration, in other words, is to sort of try to get the focus on very popular ones. And I mentioned this morning. I got a PM from a guy who was talking to his AD for Parmigiani, and he said they're going to sort of recall every non-selling or slow selling Parmigiani, and then have a big blowout of them, which I think was, if they blow out the right one, I want to be there to catch it, because that'll bring the prices down. But the other thing is that, and I think that some of us have begun to experience this, is that when we go off into the more independent, or the less sought after, I'll put it that way, but high quality brands, we're finding all of these wonderful gems. So anyway, I think that we may result in something very interesting. Gee whiz, a long time ago. This is a very long time ago. A publisher that I knew, who was a publisher, he was a publisher for, I got the name of the publisher now. It'll come to me. But anyway, he said, this is back in the 70s. That's a long time ago. He said that someday, all of the middle publishing companies are going to get wiped out, and there's going to be these giant ones, as there are today, and then a million other little ones. Now, this was in publishing. Now, what's happened to publishing? That whole theory blew up, but it started to happen. There's more and more consolidation of publishing companies. Now, what we see with the watch companies has been going on for a number of years, except it's happening in a different way. And that is companies like Richemont and Swatch, and to a lesser extent, Louis Vuitton and Moissy, and a couple other ones, Festina to on a much smaller scale, have been gobbling up all of these sort of ones who lose change. And some of the smaller ones, I don't think people realize how big Chanel is. Chanel is not, Coco Chanel and her Chanel number 5. It is a major, major big company, just like Rolex is. They're independent. And Chanel, when they bought 20% of FP Journe, and so FP Journe, pulled some kind of miracle, and now people are paying a fortune for those watches. And so they're sort of, in a way, they're sort of off the board for the temporarily. I couldn't afford the watches, FP Journes I have now. And so some interesting things are going on. And I don't know, I just wanted to sort of kick around those two things. The two things, first of all, sort of in what's the post-pandemic watch buying landscape look like for collectors? And the second thing is, are we going to, if we really want something other than your plain vanilla Omega, Rolex, even Patek Philippe, or some of the other Hamilton and so forth, are we going to have to start going off into some of the independents, and even the independents like H. Moser and Parmigiani, like I just mentioned, they're starting to rethink things to bring their watches in line with sort of a more popular taste. I'll put it that way. Oh, what watch I'm wearing? Okay, I got on my Kristen Vanderclaw, and notice too, I got it fixed. I fixed the it's all stars now. There's no moon because I guess the moon phase won't be coming up for a while. There you go, Mark. I like the Tonda. Yeah, I like the Tonda too. Let's see. The Kalpa has to be my favorite Parmigiani. That is a good one. Tonda, let's see. Hi, Johnny Cab. How are things in Scotland? You know, Johnny Cab, there's an interesting dial maker up there that you guys have. I don't know if you know them or not. I forgot. Their name is A something or other. And that's something to keep in mind. If the blowout includes a Tonda, I'm definitely getting one. You know, I'm wondering, you know, when they're talking about blowouts, I wonder how that's going to look. I think like the Tonda, the way they used to look, and the Tonda they may look like in the future may be very different. So, you know, this is what we're what we're looking at. Hi, Jim. Getting into Russian watchdogs because and they're affordable too. There's something to be you can find a lot of fun in those watches. I say I'm full stock. No, I have Polgi. I have one of their Polgis. They're alarm watches. Hi, Ziomigu. How you doing? Do you think any of the new independent watch brands will ever catch up with the big guys? In certain ways, they will. I mean, what you take, for example, take FP Journe. I don't know if they ever wanted to catch up with like having the kind of sales that Rolex or Omega or, you know, any one of the ones that, or even Patek Philippe, they crank out quite a few. I don't know if they ever wanted to do that. I think I don't think FP Journe ever wants to go over 1,000. I mean, I think when I got mine, they were trying to keep it under 800 or just right around, and now it's just under 900. So, I mean, as a successful independent, this is the thing about an independent. Independent is tough, even if you're good. You take, for example, Lang and Hein. Here they have this fabulous watchmaker had more movements going for them than, you know, you look at Breitling. They've got their BO1 and then some variations on it. Then there's another one that they sort of use from Tudor. But, you know, when you look at an independent like that, and then something happened and Marco left, and so now there's Lang and Hein with neither Lang nor Hein. And Marco Lang will be coming out soon with his new line of watches in his new company. Who knows what's going to happen? Those things are very hard, but I don't think most of those guys want to be sort of one of these big companies that they can't control every bit of it. How's your old watchmaker? Boy, hey, John, good question. My 84-year-old watchmaker, I think the last time I looked, he was fine. Hi, Andrew. How you doing? You're right, Andrew. That's the name of the company, Anne Ordain, from Scotland. Yeah, that's who I was thinking of. Thank you very much. Yep. Those are the ones. Hey, Klaus. Very rare and popular, the Future Moser. Future Moser, if you look carefully, Moser is going through a real transition right now. I think sort of the Streamliner heralds sort of a new direction. First of all, with the movement by Agenor, the chronograph movement called Agengraph, and then having pretty much the same case and band with a central second. Now that is a unique watch, but I think one that's going to be very popular, at least for people who have the money. Um, I think the price of luxury watches is going to go up and up. You could be right, Mark. I think certain brands certainly have. I mean, when you take a look at FP Journe, they've been going crazy. And then even if you look at a startup, a relatively startup like Stefan Kadoki, his stuff was, I think, just a year or so ago, it was like 6,000 or something now for the one with the Kadoki One movement, and now they're up to 9,000. So, Mark, you could be right. I was, which is going to be rough for all of us. I think the prices of hyped and popular watches are going up, but the unloved ones are going down and fast. That could happen. I mean, the ones that I somehow like the Air King and the Prince and all of the Gondolo, maybe they will go down. But boy, I haven't seen it. I think there's two mindsets. Let's say you take a Gondolo and someone says, "Well, I better get one now because they're not making them anymore, and that's going to be rare." And they may be right. I don't know. It's like predicting these things in terms of, if you look at it in terms of price for investment, I think, that's a you might as well, shake the dice and, buy pork bellies or something. But if you look at it in terms of accessibility, in other words, can watch collectors, your Rudy Poo everyday watch collector, get his mitts on one? That's another story again. And I'm not sure what Mark meant is when he think that their luxury watches are going to go up and up. If that's I think, let me guess, Mark, and tell me if I'm wrong. My guess is that you see it in terms of access and not as in terms of investment. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm sort of thinking. Hi, Rohit. Hi, Tennessee Mike. How you guys doing? Illusions may be be harder to get at decent prices. Yeah, Mark, what watch? Oh, I know. My my 1930 by Beauvais. Those things were, man, you could pick those up for half price of MSRP. Not anymore. They've been creeping up and up. And so, Mark, you may be right. And when you talk about losers, let's talk about them in terms of sales, not in terms of quality. Oh yeah, Journe prices have just gone nuts. Mosers are not losers. No, they're not by a long shot. I think what they've had is sort of interesting. To me, some of the most interesting ones are the earlier ones that they had. Ones like what are called the Mehu and the Bantu or something like that. These weird names they had. The reasons have such good movements, really beautiful movements in it. But those are becoming rare too. Now you can't find them. Hey, Cass, how you doing, man? Let's see. It would be nice to see Invicta pull their heads, okay, and get back to roots, because the vintage stuff is nice. Yeah, that's sort of a thing, is that, here you got a bean counter over here, and he says, look, if we use this model, this is what we can do. We can sell X amount and have X amount of profit and so on and so forth. And then some watchmaker guy who's in there who wants to make the best watches on earth for Invicta comes up and says, well, what if we do this? And I tell you, the bean counters are going to win every time on that, I think. I think brands like Christopher Ward are going to do well due to them not having bricks and mortar stores. I'll tell you, Mr. Gumby, that's one thing that 20 some years ago I was trying to convince everybody of that. And you're right. I mean, it's crazy not to. saying embrace the new technology. It's not new anymore. It's been around for quite a number of years. And back as, good God, even in the 80s, I was working with some people and we were doing some manuscript transfers and things like that are now, pretty much everybody's doing it. But I tell you, some of these old line publishing companies and I think watch companies with the older kind of thinking are going to have a real problem. Oh, Mark, yes, that Henry double hairspring. Those things are that's another example of a watch with incredibly interesting and workable, pure mechanical technology that is, the people at H. Moser, when I wrote them about that, they said, well, we're not going to produce them anymore because it's too expensive. Which I thought, okay, well, I got mine, so I'm good. And I talked to Malin when I interviewed him, who the Edouard Malin, great guy, by the way. And I asked him about that. I said, if I got problems with my double hairspring, you guys, take care of it. So yeah, we got it, the whole thing. He didn't say do it for free, but they said do it. Online direct selling is the key word of 2021. Yet there are more and more. I'm seeing that more and more. One of the things that is no secret that I have a great deal of admiration for. Companies that are AHCI, the independents. And I've been looking at some of their websites. Most of them are terrible. Most all of the websites that they have for watch companies are terrible right now. But maybe when they start doing a little better with their stores or understand it a little better, they'll have better sites. But one of the things I saw, I went to, what's his name? Vincent Calabresi's. And the thing that I liked the best about it was that they tell you, said, well, at the base, I put a ETA something or other, and then I put this module on it and so on and so forth. And I've seen that at most of the really good ones that have something like that. Be nice. Let's see. I think brands like, Christopher Ward are going to do well. Let's see. Hey, Phil K, how you doing, man? What do you think about investing in a Rolex day date, assuming a jump in the price of precious metals? I think they're a good store of value. See, I'm the last person to ask about investments because I don't do it that way. If you really like a Rolex day date and you want to have it, and whether the price goes up or down, you still like it, that would be the reason to get it. But I've had friends who are art collectors. I mean, serious art collectors. And what they said, and they all say, if you buy art, buy something you really like. If you just buy for investment, some people do that. But they buy art that they really, really like. And I think the same is true with watches. Come to understand what the best aspect of a mechanical watch is and buy it on the basis of that. If it goes up, great. If it doesn't, you still got a great watch. On the other hand, at least that's my view of things, Phil. So I don't mean to say, well, that's not the way to go or anything like that, because, as an investment, some people see it as something that you can, of an affordable one, you buy the first one, then if you want another one, you can trade your old one in and still get a good price for it, and then it'll just cost you a little more to get the next one up. That's sort of another way to look at it. Hey, Alex. Buy what you love and love what you buy. Bruce, yeah, that's pretty much it. I think that Even if you're a Rolex collector, buy the one you want. I've gotten more flack about liking Air King, like, oh, you shouldn't like Air King. What is wrong with people? I just like, who cares? If I like it, I like it. And I think that's true for a lot of watches that people are, sort of poo poo and they, well, why don't you like it? It's usually because everybody else doesn't like it. That's crazy. Okay. Uh, Mama Mia, what are those things in the back with dust covers and pages? Oh, that's my it's the same as a vintage watch, a vintage pocket watch in the back. Hey, Tetix. Hi, Texas. How you doing, man? And that's something. How are you, Hugh? Okay, let's see. Derek. Oh, good, Derek. You like the Air King. See, there's sort of some nonconformists in our forum. Who are the smart watch buyers who will drive the demand for a watch? In the art world, a lot of artists made a big after well-respected collectors started buying at the yeah. I think Andrew, I don't know. To me, the strangest thing happened with FP Journe. And I think they really took off after there was a Phillips auction not too long ago. And man, after that auction, people were throwing money at FP Journe's like there was no tomorrow. And I don't know why. FP Journe threatened to die. That was really funny. He had this ad, and he looked like he was 2 minutes from the grave and said, well, let me tell you what happened that when Ferrari died or somebody like that. And he said, boy, the prices really went up, and so, and I'm not feeling too well myself. And so run out and buy one now while the getting's good. Oh boy. uh, the Lane prices seem to stable so far. Yeah, Mark, that's true. I think Alanga, what happened to them, a friend of mine who's not only is he a watchmaker, a very good watchmaker, he's also German. And when I first met him, boy, he was just going on and on about Alanga. And then something happened, and he blamed it on being bought by Richemont. And so a lot of the things they had that were really innovative seemed to get put aside. And that was one of the things that I thought we could talk about today. What's going to happen when the only ones they have are sort of what we might call the lowest common denominator? Now, that lowest common denominator might be a tourbillon, but still, it's like, well, everyone's got to have one of these. For all you guys watching now, a big cheers because you are watching. Oh, thank you, Alex. Tetrix, this auction you speak of, was this post or pre-solid gold movements? I was always under the impression that was one of their high selling points. Gee, Tetrix, FP Journe has always had solid gold. They had except for the blue, which was tantalum, I think. I can never pronounce that thing. It's this really hard metal. And then they had some aluminum sports watches for the runner, and then they made them out of titanium. But their main sort of stay watches. By the way, too, FP Journe changed all the name of their watches now. Instead of the Chronomet, they're called Classique. What were they doing? Borrowing a name from Breguet? I don't know. I have no idea of, it's sort of like how these decisions are made. But they come out with all these names and stuff like that. I think the discussion of losers should be redirected to high unsellable paddocks. Hey, Pat, I don't know any that are unsellable. At least I don't think I do. How much do you value history? I feel like this idea of marketing guys came up to change more imagery without real value. You can bet on that, Ziomi. Uh, yeah, here was the thing. If you look at the history of a watch company, those are usually divorced from their origin. I mean, if you look at Breguet, Breguet was going along and they were barely holding together. And so they brought in Daniel Roth and he sort of revised them, or revived them, I should say. The same thing happened with Moser, with I think Vacheron Constantin did also. They had their own sort of renaissance. Now, this is sort of post, I think they were having so many troubles. That was why they ended up getting bought to save their bacon. That part of it anyway. But what happens with that is some of the times, this is where the flattening comes in. Like, okay, we're going to chop off everything that's not making money, or just a marginal amount of money. And so the bean counters have, okay, if it's not selling X amount and bringing in this X amount, we're going to shift our emphasis. What's happened, the difference between that and a company like F.P. Journe is that F.P. Journe doesn't make any more Chronomet blues. They can raise the price all they want to, and it'll be a long time before the price gets up as high for a new one as you're going to find on Chrono 24. They're up to $60,000 for basically a $25,000 watch. No, that's nuts. Yeah, right. I am anyway. Oh, hey Tim, how you doing, man? I think the history of watch company is wonderful and romantic, however, definitely blown out of proportion with marketing. Yeah, Texas, you take another watch company, one of the most fascinating ones, I used to have one too, was an El Leroy. El Leroy, the original El Leroy, I think it was for Louise Leroy, he made a movement for Marie Antoinette's boyfriend, who was a Swiss, not Swiss, but Swedish, some kind of diplomat. And now there's this, and then until from 1901 until 1989, they had the most complex watch around, which was then displaced by Patek Philippe and then by Vacheron Constantin in 2013. Or 2016, something like that. But the moral to the story is this, is that, now El Leroy, or now they just call it Leroy, is owned by Festina, and Festina hasn't done much with them. And before they went there, their best watches had Vaucher movements in it, and the one I bought naturally had an ETA in it, not knowing that. Frying pan time. Ah, yes, you're right. Okay. Anyway, guys, listen, I just wanted to kick that around with you. And I want to thank everyone for coming today, too. I loved your comments, and frying pan time, as Clyde said. We'll see you.